I've just been eating knickknacks. I got wee crunchies as well. Costa coffee. Like when I travelled across Nihon, when I went on the Shinkansen every other day, I always bought the Costa coffees from the vending machines on the stations. The last video I was editing, which I haven't put out, was about PDA, which is Pathological Demand Avoidance. I prefer the term personal drive for autonomy. A personal drive for autonomy. I mean, the actual definition of PDA is pathological demand avoidance, but I think that it needs to be seen as a personal drive for autonomy. To make decisions that affect yourself, then they have to be your own decisions. Right. Questions below are designed to get you talking about your life experiences. A 10-15 minute video could easily come from answering just 3 or 4 of them, so we don't have to answer all questions. First question. What does PDA actually feel like from the inside? A demand. It feels like I'm being put into pressure. It feels like I'm being attacked. Yeah. It feels like I'm being attacked. Because if I'm doing a thing, and I'm doing it myself, then I'm doing it myself. I know people can't tell me to do something I'm already doing. It feels like I'm being attacked. I feel like I'm being criticised. It feels like I'm not good enough for some people. Because I haven't achieved this task already. Because I haven't achieved this task already, then I'm being attacked because of it. Because I'm not as good as what other people think I should be, or I'm just not good enough. Yeah, what does PDA actually feel like from the inside? Not the textbook definition, and not the diagnostic criteria. What does it feel like in your head when someone asks you something? Yeah, it feels like it's aggression towards me. It's like someone is trying to take control of me. It's like someone's trying to take control of my life and my own decisions, and I believe that's wrong. I believe that's wrong. And so I'm going to push back against that, and I'm not going to carry out demand, even if it's a demand, something that, even if the task is something I want to do, even if I'm actively doing that, if someone makes a demand, like to finish something, then I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I should also add, I didn't really find out about PDA until recently. I think it explains a lot of things and situations I've been in when I'm younger. Maybe we'll come across these situations in future, and I can bring PDA into my thoughts about it, thoughts and feelings about it. Right, question 2. Forms and bureaucracy. I hate red tape and bureaucracy. Why does "have you done the form yet" feel different from "how are you getting on with the form"? You spent a lot of time talking about this. It's one of the strongest examples you have. So, right, it gives two examples of the question. Have you done the form yet? It's a demand. It's demanding that it comes across as more aggressive. It's insinuating that I'm stupid, I am dumb, and I'm incapable of doing the forms, or that I'm stupid or lazy. And it's making that insinuation, and I find that offensive. The alternative ChatGPT puts here is, how are you getting on with the forms? Now, I know the advisor in this group, wouldn't have said that. How are you getting on with the forms? It's the same question, but without the pressure. And it's assuming that I have started the form and I'm currently doing the form. So it's less pressure. Right, question 3. Work. How has PDA affected you in workplaces? You have decades of work experience. Talk about instructions you accepted, instructions you resisted, the difference between the two, that distinction would be fascinating. I don't really know. I don't know. Trying to think about this. PDA in the workplace. I think I force myself to do things in the workplace. I can't think of any examples. PDA in the workplace. I can't think of any examples. Let's go on to question 4. Right. Question 4. School. Did you know something was different about you when you were in school? You mentioned homeworks repeatedly. Why was homework difficult? Was it the work itself, the environment, the demand, the exhaustion after school? I think it's all the above. Because I hate homework. I hate doing homework. Yeah, one of the things if I do go back to university is I will do my work there. What I think I'll do is after classes, I will do any work I need to do in the libraries there and get a late train back because I'm intending to go into university by train. And because I don't want to avoid the busy trains, I think so it's going to take effort. It's going to take a little bit of push because I want to get home away from the busyness and away back into my own environment. And I think so it's not going to be easy if I go into university. But when I was in school, I hated homework. I had no comfortable environment when I was at home. I had no comfortable environments in school. Well, I did disappear into the computer rooms, and that's the same sort of thing as I just mentioned with university, because I disappeared in the computer rooms and spent a few hours there before coming home, because it was a way of avoiding the bustle, avoiding other people, and doing things and experimenting and learning something that I wanted to learn, the computers, which I couldn't do at home. Homework was difficult. I hated it because it's a demand, because, you're doing work on something. The work, you go to school to do work and you come home to relax. The subject is more complex than, the subject is more complex. I've got to think of a longer paragraph to say. Okay, the next day, because I had to stop the recording yesterday because people parked behind me and they were talking, they were doing something, and they could be seen in the window, and it wasn't a good shot. So I ended the video. I walked around up and down here for an hour, hoping they would go away, but they didn't. But it's the next day, so this now will be the 4th video. The video I'm doing now be the 4th time I've tried to record a video on PDA and not finished it. I mean, so it'll be the 4th video. Hopefully we'll finish it and we'll get PDA over and done with, and then I can move on to another subject. Right, we were answering some questions at the bottom, weren't we? Independence, school. We did school. I can't think of any offhand where PDA is called an issue in school, but I'm sure there was. But the exhaustion after school, yeah. Yeah, I mean the homework. We got the homework thing. We did homework. I talked about homework, but yeah, I couldn't do homework. Homework was a demand I couldn't do. Independence. What is the difference between a request and a demand? This might actually be the best question, because I suspect your answer could explain much of your experience. A request and demand. Yeah, a request is a polite way of putting it, and demand is how do I explain that? One's polite and one's not. One's polite and one's not. Maybe it's just the politeness level that is asked and the attitude of the person. Maybe I'm taking all these things into account. Because there's different ways to ask for something. Or ask me or anyone to do something. There's a polite way and a non-polite way. Because a request is something logical. Is something to help them, is help another person, I think. A demand is when they're demanding you do something. So I'm trying to think of an example. I think it's someone else, the person making the demand or the request is the person, they want to take some credit. Is that it? I mean, they're making me do something. Sorry, I've got pain at the moment. I've got pain. I get headaches. I get sharp pains across my head, and it's affecting me at the moment as well. Misunderstandings. What do people get wrong about PDA? This lets you discuss misconceptions without arguing with research papers. You're talking directly from experience. What do people get wrong about PDA? I think people get wrong and think, particularly with children, if you're trying to not carry out a demand or actively argue against it, people, especially adults, teachers, they seem to automatically assume that the child is being, I was going to say argumentative, but there needs to be a better word than argumentative, difficult, or they don't realise that the child has got some other reason why they may not want to carry out demand or may not be able to carry out the demand, and there's a complete lack of knowledge there. There's a complete lack of understanding. Because what do they think the child is doing? If the child is actively, like I should have explained already, that you can be in a situation where you can't get out of and you have two responses, flight or fight, because you can't carry out demand, and demand is someone giving you an unreasonable demand, and there are times when being aggressive is the only way you can communicate your feelings, your own needs. And adults, especially, teachers and that, they don't understand. It's not even like they want to understand. See, I'm having a hard time explaining this because I've got the feelings. I know the feelings. I know what the feelings are like, but I can't. I'm struggling to explain it in words. And this is why I might over-explain or spend too long on a subject, not talking directly about it, because I'm struggling to explain it in words. I've just been drinking coffee. This is not the same coffee as yesterday. This is a different coffee to yesterday. Yeah, this is a different coffee till yesterday. It's the same type. It was bought at the same time, but it's not the same coffee. What do people get wrong about PDA? It's almost as if adults, don't believe children can have their own thoughts and ideas and their own autonomy. And I think there's a lot of adults that automatically think that all children are stupid and can't think for themselves. Because I mean, that's definitely a problem. I think a lot of people that's when I have a lot of bad reactions with people, when people imply that I'm stupid and I can't think for myself. And I still get that now. I mean, like the other day. That's why what started off this PDA video. Why I wanted to do the PDA video, because the other day, when was it? 2 weeks ago now. 2 weeks ago, I didn't go to this class I was supposed to go to because I knew I'd get into a situation where my PDA would cause me a problem. I had to write a script in case I did get into this situation. But then that's just general politeness, isn't it? You treat everyone as if they can think for themselves. If you treat people if you're stupid, you're bound to get a bad reaction, aren't you? Is there something about neurotypical people who automatically assume there are other people who are stupid? And I don't understand that. I don't understand. Misconceptions about PDA. Thing is, I don't know, because I don't know what other people are thinking. I can only know from my own experience what I'm thinking or what I feel. It's like if I'm trying to argue, or if a child is trying to argue for their own autonomy, their own self-determination, what does the person making the demand on them think the child is doing? I don't know. I don't know what that person is thinking. I don't know. So that's a hard question to answer. The misconceptions without arguing. Research papers. What do people get wrong about PDA? It's standing up for yourself. It's standing up for yourself. And wanting your own self-determination and autonomy. I think that's the underlying argument, isn't it? With PDA, you just want your own autonomy, make your own decisions. Right, next question, the car example. Why can you organise computer files but struggle with other types of organisation? This example really stood out. Most viewers can relate to having strengths in one area and difficulties in the other. I don't know what it's referring to, because I gave it the transcript of my original rushes for the first 2 videos I did. You can organise computer files but struggle with other types of organisation. I can't organise my room, but I can organise computer files. But it's interesting. It's raised computers, for instance. It's like I have my own methods, my own workflows, which are different from other people's workflows. And I find it really irritating when people try to push their workflows on me for things I do with the computer, things I do with the computer files, or my files, or my video production, whatever it is, whether it's coding, Python, C#. If someone pushed their own method, and people seem to think that their methods are all the best, well, everyone's got their own workflows, and some people's workflows are different than others. Just because you have your own workflow doesn't mean somebody else's workflow is better or worse. I've gone back to making some stuff this year. In fact, I completed I was making an MP3 player. And this is because no MP3 player I've ever tried does everything that I want. They tend to be full of so much bloat these days. So I wanted to do my own lightweight MP3 player and maybe add AAC and FLAC ability later on. So I made it last night. Now, I like having a lot of control. I like having a lot of control in this workflow. Looking up tutorials, and code examples, no one has the same workflow as me. And that's quite frustrating. They all use different software, and they use like I'd rather write my own code in text files and use the one of the .NET redistributables has a C# compiler in it. So most Windows PCs have got a C# compiler on board. So I'd rather use that. I use a batch file to compile my code, goes straight from a text file, and it works. Whereas I think you look up any tutorial, they're automatically expecting you to use Visual Studio or some other piece of software to do it for you. If you use Visual Studio, when you compile something, you tend to have so many random files just thrown up, just puked all over your work folder. Where the hell do they all come from? Whereas my workflow works perfectly, and you just get the exe at the out and the executable at the output. That's it, and it works. But the point is, I find it frustrating, and a lot of people everyone expects their workflow to be like Kerbal Space Program, for instance. I would rather manually download the mods and then physically take the mod file and put it in the Kerbal folder myself. Whereas there's this mod manager, CCAN, and everyone says, just install it through CCAN. I don't want to install a CCAN. I'd rather do it myself. And I find that really irritating, how so many people just expect you to do it using their method when I've got my own way, which is more efficient and means I don't have to install dodgy software. I mean, it might not be dodgy software, but I don't want to install take social media, for instance. Facebook and that. I use it through the browser on my phone. I'd rather have the browser than the flipping app. I don't trust the app. I don't trust Meta enough to have the app on my phone. I'd rather do it through a browser and I could just close the tab. And everyone automatically assumes, oh, you've got to use the browser, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. No, I don't want to. Is this PDA, though? Because I get really annoyed by it, and really annoyed people try to push what they do. I think the argument is that I'd rather do things my own way and make my own decisions how I'm going to make something. Yeah, make my own decisions about how I'm going to make something. And things like that. Yeah, I'd like to have do things my own way. Anyway, next question. So I think I've said enough about that. Relationships with authority. Are these people whose instructions you accept more easily than others? Why? This is interesting because your transcripts suggest the answer is yes. That immediately adds nuance. Yes, there's definitely a level of difference between different people in authority. There's some people in authority who, yeah, my last job, my two immediate supervisors, managers, they were brilliant. They were absolutely brilliant. And I'm glad they were on our team. And yeah, I know they were both quite young, but they were brilliant. They were absolutely brilliant. I mean, higher up managers, the managers in the other teams, I wasn't so sure about, but our team, they were excellent. Our immediate supervisors in our team, but only post 2022. The pre 2022 was different. That was, in fact, I say the last job which I was doing since 2019. The 2019-2020 period was it's like a different job. And the 2022 to 24 period was a totally different job, and it was much, much better. It was much, much better. Because they have a different attitude. They had a different attitude. Authority. When it comes to teachers. Yeah, when it comes to teachers, it's interesting, because I'm not sure if I've spoken about this before. Because when I was in primary school, and throughout all of my comprehensive school education, there's one teacher stood out to me. And he was the only male primary school teacher I ever had. And I thought he was brilliant. He was the best teacher I ever had. Because he was the first teacher in my life who actually sat down with me and talked with me. Because all the way through my primary school education, I was just ignored. And when I wasn't ignored, I was being physically beaten or hurt or shouted at. And only one teacher in my primary school ever sat down with me and talked to me and actually saw me at my own level. Yeah, there is definitely, when you see authority figures, be it teachers or managers or supervisors or whatever, there definitely is a difference in different people. There's definitely, is it their attitudes, politeness, understanding? They come across as different. Yeah, they come across as different, and they're just people who I would be more willing to carry out their demands if they made any demands. Yeah, definitely is that. But what makes them different? So the two nice supervisors we had in the last job and my teacher from primary school. What makes them different from any of the others, any other people who were in authority at those times? I mean, I've said politeness. I think is they don't have the attitude that they're coming from a position of authority. And they don't come across as if they're treating me as stupid or lower than them. But I'm struggling to come up with the exact language, but their attitude, whatever it is about their attitudes and their personalities, I was able to pick up on it and react differently. I'd love to tell you the names, but because this is a public video, I can't. But definitely my teacher in primary school, that one teacher in primary school. The only male teacher I had in primary school. He was the only one that actually sat down with me and talked to me. And I never had, at that age, I never had this sort of attention from my own parents. Anxiety. How much of your PDA is actually anxiety? You don't need to have the answer. The discussion itself could be interesting. I mean, there's subjects. There's other videos I've been wanting to do. I've got numerous projects. I've got projects that requires letters, projects that requires sending an email and calling on somewhere. I've got another one that requires me to make a phone call, which I'm going to have to do this week. And I have videos to make. There's a number of videos. There's a number of subjects I want to cover on these videos. There's also personal videos I need to make that won't be public, that are for select people that I need to make soon. And I haven't done them. It's like some of those letter projects I've been wanting to do for 3 years or something. But these projects I keep putting off and keep pushing them in the future. I'll do that when I feel ready to it. I keep pushing them to the future, and I'm not doing them right now. The MP3 player project, I've been wanting to do that for years, but I did it last night, and it didn't take long. With the AI help, and admittedly I did have a bit of AI help. Yeah, this MP3 player project, I've been wanting to do this for a while, and but I could have done it before. I could have been using it. Yeah, I was playing music for the first time in 2.5 years last night, and it brought back some memories, brought back some feelings, because I didn't feel good enough. I didn't feel emotionally up to listening to music after what happened to me. So I was playing music for the first time in a long time last night. But why aren't I doing these projects? I mean, I could be doing these projects now. And I keep saying, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it later, and I never do it. I mean, I've got these ideas. I've got so many, but then I've got so many, I'm making excuses now. I've got so many different projects and things. I've got a really long to-do list. Yeah, so I've got this long to-do list, and that's another thing I did with the AI is I pasted it into ChatGPT and asked what's the most important thing to do. So I've been trying to put efforts to the most important things on things, but there's things that are meaningful to me that further down the list. But there's stuff that's been on the list for a very long time, years and years. Why am I not doing them? Maybe I could have been more successful, or had different paths in my life open up if I'd done more of these things and projects which I've got. I guess when I start down, I've started some of these, like the letters. I've got some letters I need to send. I mean, I've written them. I've written drafts. Yeah, the story I'm writing is not dissimilar. I've been Because I've been writing this story, with the intention to publish a storybook. So I've written all the way through, and I'm on the rewrite. I'm like quarter way through the rewrite. I haven't touched it for months. I can do it, but there's something there. It's like I'm stopping doing it. It's frustrating. Maybe I'm not seeing progress with it. I'm not seeing progress as fast as I would like, and that puts me off doing it. It's maybe the same with my language studies. I could have been doing the language studies on my own for the last 16 years. I have tried the language studies. I've got the Kanji app on the phone that I use every single day. But I feel as if I'm not making progress. The Kanji app, for instance. I can answer the questions, I can get through, and I can get through and do the tests. But once the app is closed or gone, suddenly I forget everything I've learnt or all the questions I get right on there. So I don't feel any progress. And I keep hoping as the levels go up in the Kanji app, I'll pick up a piece, or I'll open up a web page or something that's not in English, in Nihongo, and I'll read it. And it's like suddenly there's all sorts of complex kanji I don't know, and I've been doing this kanji app for a long time, for years. It's like I haven't learnt enough, and I don't see the progress now, and that sets me back. So it makes me feel as if, what's the point? Because I'm not getting anywhere, I'm not gaining anything, because I'm not seeing the progress. Life is not a video game where constant wins keep you playing. That's a quote I've got from one of my poem pieces, which I wrote months ago. Life is not a video game where constant wins keep you playing. Because I don't see any success. I don't feel... It destroys my motivation. Destroys my motivation to continue. Take the university application. I was going to do it last year, but I didn't. Admittedly, it was late because I didn't think about it until August, September time. I'm doing it late this year, May, June. It's June now. Why is it taking me so? I don't know. But I feel like a stress. I feel like a stress across my shoulders. When I try to do something or push myself to do something, I feel this stress across my shoulders. I'm guessing if I don't see the progress, the stress remains there, and it makes me unable to do something. Does that sound right? What does that sound like? People often describe PDA as avoiding demands. I don't think that's what I'm experiencing. So what am I experiencing instead? I've been saying how it's wanting your own autonomy and making your own decisions and self-determination. That is very true. But at the same time, there is this element that's bothering me. Because I put demands on myself, doing these projects, doing my stories, being consistent with doing live streams or making these videos or editing. And I'm often putting stuff off. I don't feel like it right now. I don't feel like it right now. I don't feel like it right now. Why though? Why? Why is it I have to feel so comfortable before I do it? And often I've been putting off projects for so many years. I don't understand. This letter project, I've got letters, I've got drafts written. I can print them out, take them down to the post office, and send these letters. Things I should have done years ago. They won't have the same sort of impact now, but these letters are for companies to help with a project, and they have to be letters because I feel they'll be taken more seriously than just an email or a social media message. People often describe PDA as avoiding demands. I don't think that's what I'm experiencing. So what am I experiencing instead? Because it's all... I've mentioned how it's for my own autonomy, my own self-determination. So I mentioned autonomy and self-determination is a big aspect, but it doesn't explain this other element. That is, why am I holding myself back from doing things, putting demands on myself? Why am I holding myself back? What is the reason I'm holding myself back? I can't explain it. I can't explain it. But I'm always feeling... it's not always the case, though. So, wanting me to feel comfortable about doing it, I can never get into... Is there an unwillingness for me to push myself to move forward? Because I know I can never achieve anything when I was younger, because I was from a poorer background from everyone else, and I was always comparing myself with far wealthier students when I was younger, people who'd had a far more stable life than me, and I was comparing myself to them. Is there some element there where I feel as if I can't achieve anything, and so I don't push myself to achieve anything? Is there something there? Because I was never given the encouragement when I was younger. Because when I tried to do anything when I was younger, when I tried to go places or achieve things, I could never achieve anything because I was always slower than everyone else, or I didn't have the same resources. I didn't have the backing. I mean, going to university, for instance, my father absolutely hates the idea. Utterly hates the idea. When I got the email, that I had a login for the university, for their application system. Yeah, when I had the email last week about the university's application system, and when I had the logins emailed to me, I had a feeling in me, a feeling in my heart. I was like, I don't deserve this. I'm not good enough for this. I can't do this. That's what I had. I had a feeling. I'm not good enough. This is beyond me. That I'm stupid for even doing this. And I had these thoughts and feelings. And these thoughts and feelings made me consider, I need to give this up. This project is beyond me. I can't do this project. And so these feelings were sort of making me not want to continue. Making me would just give up with the application and not bother getting funding. So is PDA, rather than, although it's heavily associated with ASD, is it something else? Is it to do with upbringing? Or maybe it's a result of experience, ASD and ADHD growing up experiences? The thing is, it's been so ingrained for me from a young age that I can't do anything. I'm not as good as other people. I'm not worthy of other people, especially my parents. Not so much my mother these days, but when I was younger, definitely, I always felt that I couldn't do anything. I was never as good. As other people. I remember I went to school, for instance, a year too early, and I was physically younger, physically smaller, physically slower, physically weaker, and slower and stupid, and I just didn't have the same mental capacity of everyone else. I was always at a disadvantage throughout the whole school. And these experiences are what sort of defined how I'm feeling now. And I'm still getting these experiences. When I had the emails about my university logins last week, and the feeling that I can't do it, I'm not good enough, it's beyond me. And it did make me consider giving it up. Even this morning. Because my father hates the idea of me going to university. He hates the idea of me doing anything or bettering myself. It seems like every time I've had a project to go somewhere or do something, my father opposes it. My father automatically thinks it's stupid, dumb, waste of time. And these thoughts and feelings have become part of me. I can't do it. I'm not good enough. I know it's going to be extremely difficult. Even though the first 18 months of study, I'm beyond the first 18 months of study in my language level. Despite that, it will be extremely difficult if I get in, if I get the funding, and if I get into university. It will be extremely difficult for me, and probably more difficult for me than other students who are 20, 30 years younger than me. Or maybe that's just my anticipation. I don't know. I need to go in with open mind, or maybe just start believing that I can do it, that I am good enough. That seems. I'm just saying that. Start believing that I am good enough. I am worthy enough. It gives me sort of an anxious feeling inside. It gives me an anxious feeling like I can't. It's almost as if I'm lying to myself, saying that I am good enough. I am worthy enough to do it. It gives me like a feeling inside that I can't. It just doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem truthful. I'm going to try. I will at least attempt. I will do what I can. And with that, I think it's time to end.